Time flies in this life, in this organization, in this profession that we both chose to go into. And at first we were thinking like, oh my God, like I'll be doing this for the rest of my life. And then in fact, you will not be doing this for the rest of your life. And you have to figure out a chapter 2. And I think thanks to LinkedIn, you get such a wide array and an intimate look at what somebody's doing with their chapter 2. And one thing that I appreciate, and definitely knowing you as a Green Beret, knowing you as the person you were, and the effective NCO, the effective leader you were, the man that went into that career field, but then being able to see you where you're at now and with the same passion, the same purpose. I mean, when you're engaging and creating content, it's the same person I know. It's just tapping into a new chapter in your life. And Rich, this is exactly what you're here for today. I want you to, because there are so many people interested in cybersecurity in the world that encompasses all of that. But guys forget, if they're curious about a career field, all they have to do is ask somebody.
Yeah.
All they have to do is reach out. And that's the scariest fucking thing. So why not have somebody from that field come in and talk about what does it take to be successful in this? How do you become the next Rich Greene?
You know what's funny is, so I'll backtrack. 2 weeks ago, I gave a talk. So SANS held the New to Cyber Summit, which is, hey, people are just getting in the field, people that are curious about the field, come and talk. And they reached out, I don't know, at the end of last year. They're like, we're looking for people to give presentations. And I was like, you know what? I had a pretty damn unorthodox way that I entered this field. You know, I wasn't a help desk person. I didn't work in IT. I didn't go to comp sci. I was like, I went from a known criminal, like a thief, running around, like literally B&Eing my entire adolescent life, like spending time in drunk tanks, not for being drunk, but for stealing things, waiting for my mom to come get me out. Like that was me. And then conventional army, still a little shit, right? Because I was just no guidance. The military provided that. And then special forces, like we saw. But my point for the whole presentation was really all those skills that we learn are so powerful in cybersecurity that people don't even realize. Like there's the technical aspect of it for sure, like understanding that, but it's the people skills, the soft skills, the mentorship, everything that stands for what a Green Beret is supposed to do. And what we do probably better than anybody on the face of the earth, which is, you know, taking a complex thing and breaking it down so anybody can do it, is powerful in this field. And people have slowly started seeing that. But what I notice is people don't make that jump, especially coming from where we came from.
Yep.
Because I know when I was getting ready to retire, I was like, holy shit, like what is Rich Greene going to do for my chapter 2? And of course I did what almost all of us do. I started looking at CAC Expert. I started looking at contracting gigs. I was like, let me go back overseas, because that's part of my mind was that's all I know. Like I spent from 2002 to 2020 in either Iraq, Afghanistan, Central or South America. So I knew nothing else. But I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm tired of being gone.
Yes. Yes, dude.
You know, like, because khaki sounded great. They're like, yeah, we'll pay you great money, but you go on rotations like every 6 or 8 months for the rest of your life. And I'm like, no, like, I've done that. I don't want to do that.
And that takes guts. That takes guts. There's so much fear with wanting to provide stability and money and the known resources to your family.
Yeah.
And not to knock anybody and not to say that it's not an important factor, but man, if guys and gals are willing to just take a break, just pause and understand that there's more, like there's more out there for us.
There's so much more. There is so much more beyond what we knew. And take a security halt, right? Yeah, the whole name of your podcast is literally it's the whole definition of it. And it's take a break, especially if you go the whole 20 years. So the people that do the whole 20 years do have the luxury. I say luxury, like you sacrificed a lot to get to that point, but you don't have to jump right into something. And I would rather people, and I had to do it, was take that security halt, sit down, survey the area. Like, what do I want to do with my life? If contracting is it, go do it. Be the best damn contractor that the world's ever seen. But think about it and then reevaluate, do that gap analysis. Like, where's my life at now? Where do I see myself? And if what you're looking at doesn't fulfill that, if it doesn't get you from A to B, like, don't do that, bro. Like, you need to start from the bottom. I think a lot of people honestly might be scared of starting back at the bottom.
Yep.
think it's a lot of it because it scares a lot of people. Like we spent so long of our career up here that when we step out of that role, we might not be right back here, and we have to be okay with starting here and doing what you do and being a rock star and climbing back up to the top.
Yeah. Beginner's mindset. We are masters of fundamentals, the basics. Like understanding that, okay, I have to be comfortable being a constant forever beginner. That's a beautiful concept. Like it's taught in so many different principles of like mindfulness, Buddhism, like be a constant beginner. Understand the importance in that. Don't walk out of the military and think that I need to get a fucking job in these fucking CEO boardrooms. Like, dude, that's not the reality. That's not the reality. Yeah. And you know, I constantly have that to fight that mindset with individuals that I talk to during outreach. It's like, well, I'm ready to go out there and run into these organizations and be a premier leader. It's like, okay, or you realize that you may not get that premier job right off the bat. And maybe it's more important for you to figure out what you really want to do instead of chasing that PMP, instead of chasing that, I got to get that Scrum Master and I need to get this. And it's like, what are you going to do with that? It briefs well when people tell you to do those things, but all these credentialings, like if you get all these credentials, but they don't take you down the right avenue, what did you just waste all that money and resources for trying to get that? And I feel like that's super important to understand with cybersecurity because my limited understanding is from watching other people prepare. Well, I need to get this certification. I need to get Python. I need to get this. I need to get Agile. It's like, but what do you really need for cybersecurity, especially now? Because I imagine that the world of cybersecurity in 2010 is vastly different than the world of cybersecurity today.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I try to get to a lot of people to understand is because they do that just right. They chase the certifications. They're like, oh, if I have this certification, this certification, this certification, I'm guaranteed 6 figures. And it's like, maybe, but maybe you just wasted so much time and money and you're still doing the same job search you're doing prior. If you look at me, so leaving 7th group, they're like, hey, you have a year till you retire. We're going to PCS you to Fort Bragg. Oh, I'm sorry, Fort Liberty now. Yeah. I was like, but I have a year left. They're like, you'll be fine. You can go retire from there. I'm like, okay. So coming up to Fort Bragg at the time, I'm going to keep on calling it Fort Bragg. But Hector Aguayo, do you remember Sergeant Major Aguayo?
Heck yeah, I do. Yeah.
So he was running 2nd Special Warfare Training Group, and he reached out. He's like, what are you doing when you come up here? I was like, well, I'm retiring. Because he wanted me to go work over at the ASOC committee. And I'm like, oh, again, that's all I've known. Yeah, I can go do that. But then he found out I was retiring. He's like, why don't you're a short timer? That wouldn't make any sense. I'm like, well, I would have thought they would have told you, but no big deal. So he's like, well, you can be my ops. You can be my ops sergeant for 2nd Special Training Group. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I can ride out my career doing that because that sounds like fun. But somebody reached out to me from 6th Training Battalion. And they're like, we have a course called Brighton, which is teaching. It was a cyber defense course, really not digital forensics, but digital force protection. So for our ODAs that go out there, understanding your digital terrain, what does that look like? Because it's not something we ever worried about. We'd go out there and we'd patrol for physical threats, but nobody cares when you pull up into a team house in country X. What does that look like? What is the network? What network are you connecting to? Who has access to your house? So it was teaching that. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like, this is dope. And it's like a weird blend of what we do and cybersecurity. And I'm like, there has to be something there. And I had no certifications at the time. I had nothing. I was just a GB who was retiring. I had nothing. So I started that route. And then I realized I have 20 years. I have no certifications. I have no degree. Like, I'm in a world of trouble. Like, in mere months, I have to figure out what the hell I'm going to do as a grown-up. But it worked out so great. The company loved me that I was working for. They hired me on, having no experience. Because, again, we're great at what we do. We are master teachers. Like, I don't care what anybody says. A Green Beret is by far the best teacher, instructor, mentor on the planet if they apply themselves. So they billed me a contracting gig. So I went to contracting, but teaching defensive cyber operations. And then I was like, okay, well, now I need to figure out what else is out there. And then I found out about SANS. And I was like, okay, SANS is a phenomenal institution. And they're ran by vet. Their CEO was a pilot for 160th. I mean, there's so much. Yeah, I know. Didn't even know about it. But there's so much steep military vets inside of SANS. I was like, this is an organization I can get behind.
What's the name of the organization again?
SANS, SANS.
SANS.
Yep, that's all it is. It doesn't stand for anything crazy. Well, it does, but we won't even get into that one. But yeah, everybody can look at it, and diving into it, they have degree plans. They have academies for vets. They have something called Vet Success.
No shit.
Exactly. And it's shit like that. I'm talking to you because I have so many people reach out to me. They're like, hey, Rich, like we knew each other back then. Or, hey, Rich, your name came up from somebody else I'm in group with and you got out and you're doing things. And I'm like, well, did you know about this? And you know about this? Like SANS is expensive. And I'll be honest with everybody, like it's expensive. It's quality stuff and it's going to be expensive. But with Vet Success, if you apply for it and you're a veteran and you're trying to get into cybersecurity, you're going to get 3 or 4 certifications and not come out of pocket.
Nice.
Like you're already setting yourself up for success, which is awesome. I didn't go that route. I had my GI Bill left and I'm like, well, I spent too long. I didn't give it to anybody. And once you get to that threshold, you're stuck with it. Like you can't get rid of it. SANS took that. So I dumped my GI Bill into that one and I pursued having a degree plan. So everything I did was, if you think back about it, people hate it, but NDNP, because that's even still what they call it anymore. But it's like strategically thinking out, like, how do I get to where I want to go?
Yep.
With the easiest route possible. Because I don't want to incur expenses. I don't want a lot of time lost because money's important, but I think our time is more important.
100%.
And I think if people realize that, like, yeah, it sucks. Drop some money here. But if you wasted hours of your life, like you're not, I can get money back. That's fine. I can't get my time back.
100%, man.
And that's what's funny is I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday because it's really important to me. And I was telling him, I was like, the community was so fucking important to me. Like it figuratively and literally has saved my life in more ways than I can count. And SANS has been an incredible organization. Like how do I blend those together? And I was talking to my wife yesterday as well. I was like, I think I want to start a scholarship program, right? To give back, especially, aimed at soft veterans who, maybe they gave their GI Bill to their spouse or their kids and they don't have access to it anymore, but they want to change. And I want to show them, as you said, there's more out there than just going right back into what we knew. So I love seeing what you're doing, like giving back, and this our kind tends to not like to talk and open up for whatever reason, but it's so important. Networking is huge.
It's a huge thing, man. So going through SANS, how did that help you finalize? Like you're going through the process of streamlining your entire career. How did SANS empower you? Was it just the fact that it was just the absolute best courses, or also gave you the access to people in the career field?
Kind of all three. Well, you said 2, but really there's a combination of, there's a third one there. So we'll start with the actual training itself. I think what really gravitated me towards SANS was my very first course. I sat there and I was going through the process of it and I'm just listening to this instructor and I was like, holy shit, like this has to be some of the best training I think I've ever received. And that for me was a huge part because it wasn't like, oh, I did this training and this guy was talking very monotone and I hope you enjoyed this. Please read these slides. Have a great day. And I was like, I can't do that. But no, this guy was engaging. He was a storyteller. He reminded me, almost every instructor from SANS I've had the privilege of speaking to in person reminds me of us. Yeah. Like they remind me the same mentality. I'm not team room mentality because the language is, of course, a little bit more, PG. But it's their ability to take complex, because cybersecurity is not easy. But it's their ability to take something that's that complex and then break it down so simple to where no matter where you're at, you're like, oh, I got that. Like I can go do that. So that was number one. The quality of the instruction was like, again, on point. The second one was the community. For me, the reason I went this special operations route was I noticed on the conventional side, the camaraderie didn't seem like it was there anymore. Like I'd go to work and it was, oh, I'm so mad we have to be at work, or I'm so mad about this. And I'm like, well, why'd you join the Army? Like we should be brothers and sisters, like teams. And it wasn't there. So I was like, I bet being a Green Beret, there's a brotherhood there. Yeah, of course there was. So you go over and that happened. And then on the SANS side, it builds a large community of like-minded people who are all there to help each other succeed. You posted about it yesterday where it's building everybody up. And I think that's what SANS does a really great job of. Maybe if it's not directly SANS related, but going through a course, you're going to meet 10, 15, 20 other people in that course who have the same aspirations as you. And if it's somebody who is, say, getting out or thinking about getting out, they're going to build that network. Because this guy might be going through the same course and maybe he works at Microsoft or maybe he works at Amazon, and you become friends because you're hanging out for a week, and now you're just building that network. And that was phenomenal. And then it's just the ability. I mean, Sands makes it so easy to have you fall in love with whatever you're trying to do, as long as you're passionate about it. And that's what kept going. I mean, hell, I'm 15 certifications into it now.
Holy
I have
shit.
a bachelor's degree. I'm finalizing my master's degree. I've pretty much wrestled my entire world about Sands. But it's a place that really just helps people.
Yeah. Every time you post about it, every time you share a milestone, it's not some frivolous like, oh, look at me. It's like, dude, like I just achieved another accomplishment through this great organization, and there's not just an obvious positive joyful reaction to it, but it's in your post, in your sharing with the rest of the world what you're achieving. It's something that's deeply nested within your core of what you want to do, and you're sharing something that's authentic and genuine. And that's what I want other people to find. When you're sharing, it's not just like, hey, I made it through another year of cybersecurity training online from the Army. Yay. It's like, holy shit. But then it feeds into everything else you're showing, everything else you're talking about with cybersecurity as a journey, almost like D&D, almost like a video game. You're deeply connected to this. And how did that transfer into employment? How did that transfer, how did that journey like manifest into a real actionable job?
The passion, I think. If I look back on it, securing that contracting gig, post-military, still doing the same thing, was almost not a definitive it was going to happen, but it kind of just worked that way.
Yeah.
I think when somebody reached out to me because they were looking there was a mutual friend. So I was working at Brighton with an individual, Patrick Wiley, who was there, and he had worked at Brighton with another individual that was there a while ago. That person had found their way at Sands, and they had reached out through their third party because, again, networking is so damn important.
Yeah.
And they put me in contact with them. I'm like, holy shit, like a real job? I'm like, not military related? Like, this is wild. So I was like, yeah, why not? Because the only thing I was told was, do you know about Sands? And at this point, I was like, yeah, I know about Sands. Because I've been not an employer, but I've been a user of their products.
Yep.
So we reached out and I talked to an individual. His name is Tim Butler, Phenomenal, and Brad Fennell, two amazing individuals. And when they actually sent me the job rec, it was like, oh, you're going to be a solutions engineer. I said, what the fuck is a solutions engineer? Like, I haven't even heard it. Like, I know what an engineer is, but like, what is a solutions? Like, what magic man up here? And they're like, no, you support sales. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I'm not a salesman. Like, it's not a salesman. I know nothing about it. But just talking to them, they're like, man, you're passionate. You're energetic. You want to succeed. I'm like, oh, you're naming all the qualities that make us who we are as soldiers. That's pretty cool. And they overlooked all of the things I didn't have that was integral to the role and took me based off of my experience and my passion. And they're like, yeah, we'll take a chance on you. And literally, I had probably been living my best life ever since October 17th of 2000. And
nice.
It has been, everything's here. I have the opportunity to speak to so many people on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not a salesman. I literally they come to me with a problem and I try to figure out what that problem is for them. I pursued being a Sands instructor because being a teacher is by far my most passionate thing in the world that I want to do outside of being a family member, a husband, a father, and best friend. And I get to do that now. So now I get to take the same Rich that you remember from group. Yep. And now I get to be in front of students all around the world. I mean, hell, I go to Australia in September to teach a class.
Nice.
Yeah, right? And it's that opportunity is afforded to me where nothing's stopped. I still get to keep doing the same amazing things that I was. And now that I'm passionate about now, and I haven't to take a step back. I didn't change who I was internally to go do what I want to do.
Yeah. Dude, you just identified something that's so hard for so many individuals is that job title. Well, that doesn't you look at the job listing, you look at the job title for the company, and 9 times out of 10, the job title isn't going to say retired 7th group or 3rd group, 10th group operator, 18 Zulu, $18. It's not going to say that. It's going to have a very complex name. So then you're like, oh, I'm not going to apply for that role. Like, read into the description, look into the job description, understand what it's saying. And you're going to find that, oh shit, the name might seem really funky and weird, but this is exactly what I do. And guys are not willing to do that. They discredit themselves, or they actually they get in front of a recruiter and they're like, well, no, that doesn't fit me. It's like, God, dude, the names are very ambiguous. They don't always directly say Green Beret, Ranger, Navy SEAL, former soft guy. But in reality, it's everything you do. Right now, when I talk to guys that get into Anduril, to get into Vannevar Labs, get into these defense tech, they finally understand, like, oh shit, I'm the middleman between a engineer, somebody that's developing something, and they don't know how to talk to the end user. They don't know how to talk to the actual person on the ground that's going to utilize it. And I can do that. I speak that language.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. And how many people are not getting those jobs because they self-assess? Like
Self-selecting. Oh man, I probably would have done this if I look back. My wife and I get in this. I don't call it an argument, but for me, the world is rose-colored, super optimistic, super. I always think the best things are going to happen. So after 2017, when I was medevaced out of Afghanistan, when we got ambushed, I was like I legit almost died. And I know everybody joins the military with the possibility of I could die. Everybody understands that is a real risk. But some people spend their entire career and it never actually happened or come close. So they never even faced that actual fear. For myself, and when you were we legit faced that fear head on, not by choice, but it just happened to happen. And after that point, everything for me was nothing is that bad.
Yeah.
No. So with that mentality, and I spend a lot of time just motivating people now with that, understanding your brain has a limited amount of bandwidth. You need to choose what you give that bandwidth to.
Yeah.
Some things are so out of your control, they should get zero part of your bandwidth. And I give this whole circle speech, circle of control, circle of influence. But where I was going with that is after that point, never say no. Say no if it makes no sense. But if there's a job opportunity, don't read the resume or don't read the job rec and be like, I don't know if I qualify for that. Nah, fuck that. Apply for it.
Yeah.
Don't tell yourself no. Have somebody else tell you no. That's the worst they can do is tell you no. The best they can tell you yes. So why would you do that? I don't care what it is. Granted, now if they're asking for a NASA astronaut and you have absolutely zero of the qualifications, maybe don't apply. Maybe don't apply. But if you hit 70, 75% of those qualifications like I did with the solutions engineer job, I fucking send it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might get a no. Who gives a shit? Some automated stupid resume thing will be like, oh, whatever, doesn't have a magic bullet on it. So I can send it off. But I'm a firm believer, if a GB gets in front of a human being and just gets the opportunity to talk, bro, you're going to win them over.
100%. It's being consistent with the application process, being optimistic.
Yeah.
It takes nothing to have that optimistic mindset. And I've met tons of pessimistic people, and I know you have, and it's fuck, at the end of the day, that gets exhausting.
Yeah.
Just shitting on everything, shitting on yourself, that gets exhausting. Dude, have some faith.
Yeah.
It's a process like anything else, but there are tools to get around it. One of those tools that I know has been super beneficial and super helpful to me is LinkedIn. In your own journey, building that network, what are some of the resources? What are some of the things that you tapped into?
For me, starting out, because I think when I first started, I was like, well, I'm not going to make a fucking LinkedIn. What? That's social media for boomers, bro. I'm not going to get on LinkedIn. What? But then when you realize it, I think the days of simply getting a job based solely on an application or a resume are gone. When you look at it, I don't know the actual number, but it's something like 70 to 80% of jobs now are filled by insider information. So I was like, okay, well, shit. That's where it's at. there's Indeed or Glassdoor, but there was no other legit social media platform that really focused on professionals. And really, there's some dumb things on there, but really, it's a great place for professional development. So the best thing I did was go on there and realize that number one, I had to take 20 years of Army knowledge and figure out how to craft that into corporate America jargon, because that's as you said earlier, people read a job rec, they're I don't understand any of this. It's just because you don't understand the terminology. You definitely know what it is, just not the way that they wrote it. So figuring that out and then aligning my LinkedIn with that. And then the goal was just to find like-minded people. If your big thing is, I want to get into, I don't know, my wife, she's now going to school to be a mental health counselor. That's what she wants to do. I was like, okay, we'll get on LinkedIn, find the top people that are in that field and follow them, and then engage with them. Just don't like a post. Be like, oh, like this. No. That's not going to get you anywhere. converse with that person. Don't be afraid because they're, 4 million followers and they're the head of the mental health clinic for UNC or somewhere crazy. Bro, they put their pants on just like you do. Like just reach out and like make those connections. Because if anything, you're going to gain a mentor. Somebody's going to impart some type of knowledge on you, point you in the right directions. And it was the same thing I did. I was like, okay, like cybersecurity is where I want to be. So let me see what that looks like. Okay, well, these are these people. I'll follow these people. Let me engage with these people. And I've met some amazing folks that have helped me, and it just provides more engagement. So what I don't have to do, which I see on there, and you'll see some of the posts on LinkedIn where it's still clickbaity, which happens, which is fine. But the engagement's there. So now when I first started, I would make a post and there would be nobody. But it's interesting now because of consistency and not consistency. I won't say accuracy, but the content's relative to the field I'm trying to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, I can make a simple post and it's, 10, 15,000 impressions. So it's like, that's getting to people that also want to be successful. So we can all just be a happy family.
Yeah.
That's all I want. LinkedIn, it's tough to navigate, man, because it's one of those platforms that's hard to start. And then people feel really weird about it because they get all these random things. But that's just the nature of the business. It's no different than somebody having to cold call you on a phone to make a sale.
Yep.
Like,
exactly.
If it doesn't bother you, delete it and go on about your day. Engage with those that make sense, delete those that don't make sense, and just have fun with it and treat it like every other thing in your life.
Yeah. If you're willing to devote time and effort into TikTok, take some time and develop your LinkedIn page. Like just just a little bit of things. Cause the days of walking and hitting the street, hitting the pavement and handing out your resume, those are gone.
Yeah.
They're long gone, man. The jobs are not in the same, your dream job could be in Chicago working remotely.
Yeah.
And no one's going to hear about you unless you're willing to go online, look for the jobs, and then set up like a page about yourself on LinkedIn, showing all the great things you do, and then engaging a little bit on a daily basis, showing why you're the right candidate. Like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not asking you to become an influencer on LinkedIn, but I am telling you, if you're listening, to set up a LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
Put the effort to put a background picture. Make the effort to make your link your actual name instead of -10859, and then put your relevant experience, and then put a passionate why in your little headline, letting people know that, like, oh shit, like you're real about your future. You're ready to do this. And for God's sakes, don't put transitioning service member or retiring in 20. Put something relevant that says like, hey, here's my strengths. Here's what I'm doing. Here's my why statement. Put yourself out there. Believe it or not, I know it sounds crazy, but believe it or not, people have gotten hired just on a search. People are willing to hire you. They see that you're a veteran. They see that you're from a soft background or from a relevant MOS that's like pertains to their company. People will hire you. It's just about making yourself relevant and being able to put a good resume out there, which there are tons of organizations that can help you with that.
that was the other one. Because another point you just made, you're not handing a resume. So the job that I got hired for wasn't even public yet. Like they did the whole hiring process up to the point. And they're like, we love it. We're going to go forward with you. The second it went live, they sent me the link to actually apply. So that's how the world, it's guerrilla warfare. It's if you want a job in 2024 and beyond, like you have to think outside the box. You can't simply just be like, go to this website. Oh, they're taking applications. Let me put my resume on this automated resume taker that's going to scan it for whatever. Nah, bro. Like you got to dig deep. Find out, like I know for a fact I want to work for this organization. Okay, well, follow that organization. What are their people talking about? What is interesting to them? Go in that route, meet somebody from there, talk to them, build a relationship. So maybe they don't have anything now, but maybe they're like, oh shit, inside my team, we were talking about hiring somebody. Well, I know this guy that I met on LinkedIn. Shit, I think he'd be perfect for this. And that, bro, it's guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
It's the underground all over.
I say that all the time. You're literally building networks and building little sectors of support everywhere you go. Like putting your best foot forward each and every day. Yeah. And with social media and your presence online, that's what's going to get you hired. You're not able to fly around the world, fly to different states and meet all these different individuals. But if you build that profile, if you put your best digital foot forward and you're constantly putting information that's relevant to people, the recruiters are looking for it. Like, you have a powerful way to get noticed nowadays.
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize it. None of us really do. But now that we do, that's why I'm advocating all the time. Establish that LinkedIn, man. Get out there. Be willing to do those digital cups of coffee. It takes nothing. It's scary at first cold calling somebody. Once you get the approval, once, hey, yeah, go ahead and call me. It's like, oh, fuck, what am I? You're a human being. They're a human being just like you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Dude,
love it.
Going through the process is not easy for anybody.
No.
Going through retirement, it's difficult, whether it's medical, whether it's your 20 years, whether you're ETS, transitioning out is hard. What were some of the things that challenged you? What were some of the things that were difficult to deal with for you? And how did you bounce back from them?
I think the biggest thing for me, the two biggest ones, again, and I'll go back, I think on the medical side for me, it was a little, I wasn't concerned. I mean, I spent almost a year total at Walter Reed before I got out. So a lot of time there. Yeah. So you think injured 2017, I finally got over there. I don't remember what it was. So it was July. I got out of Walter Reed for the first time, probably around Thanksgiving timeframe. So July, August, September, October, November. So I spent about 4 months there being rehabbed, got home, had a breakdown in December. Like, I can't be in real life anymore. Like, I need to go back. Yep. And then went back to Walter Reed and spent time under their NICO program and inpatient for a while so I can get my shit together. Yeah. So they did a huge medical workup. So by the time it came for me to retire, I was like, I had this, giant stack of, here you go. So all that was good. So I didn't have to focus too much on that. And I did appointments and that was all fine. But for me, it was the fear of, because at the time I had no plan. Yep. No idea what I was going to do. I know I have a large family to take care of. So fiscally, like, I need to put things in place to make sure I am at least, I don't have to like blow where I was out, but I can't drop below my standard of living. Like, this is where we're at. I need to maintain this. And it was a lot of that was trying to figure out, like, what do I do? I'm not saying anything bad about the military at all. And it might be different now. The way they have somebody that the year you had the transition, the 6 months you have the transition, I understand what they're doing, but I don't think they put enough emphasis on it. They're like, oh, do these appointments. Yep. Yeah. And then somebody's like, oh, I have to do this to check the block so I can retire. But nobody knows how actually fucking important those things are. Like, I think we get so accustomed to it. It's just another check the box, check the box, check the box. Whereas getting out and, legit going through the resume building process would have been probably really good then, since they have a whole workshop for it. Yeah. But at the time I was like, oh, I'm just blowing it off because this is this dumb shit I have to do. Having a really good talk about finances. What does insurance look like when you get out of the military? Like, what are all these things? Like, talking to somebody, mental health capacity. Like, and I think what a lot of people don't understand is the drastic change. Because I went from being in a team room and being around like-minded individuals to, like, not being ripped out of it, but it's no longer a part of my life anymore. Yep. And that's hard. And a lot of people don't understand, like, how do you make that flip to where, like, oh shit, like, I'm not going to the team room and just shooting the shit with, awesome dudes for X amount of hour days or kicking it at the range. Like, that's gone out of my life now. So I have to find another thing to try to, like, figure this out. So I think the biggest, like I said, is just understanding finances and realizing I blew off a lot of that just because I was just being an idiot. Yeah. And I didn't have anybody there to slap me around and be like, no, do this. Like, this is important shit. Like, this is the rest of your life you have to understand about. And I didn't have that. And that kind of sucked.
I think a lot of us do that. And it's a coping mechanism, avoidance. I don't got time for that shit. We don't want to face the fact that it's coming to an end. Even once we make our peace with it, even once we're like, okay, yeah, I'm leaving, I'm done. This is what's best for me mentally, physically. Like, I have to transition. There's a lot of ambivalence and there's a lot of fear. And when we have that and we don't speak it, we don't openly say, hey, I'm scared of this. I am hesitant because I'm fearful of this. I'm fearful of losing my identity. Then those negative coping mechanisms like avoidance and, procrastination come in. We're used to that. It only takes a minute if you wait for the last minute. We don't know that that's inherently something we've developed because we're coping with it. We're coping with stress. We're coping with a life that's coming to an end and changing drastically, and we don't want to acknowledge it. Yeah. But the reality is it's coming to an end, and we have to be comfortable talking about it. And if you're listening and if your time's up and you're coming to that determination, whether you're retiring medically or retiring at 20, take a deep breath. Know that it's okay. Life will continue. You will flourish. You will find your way. You just have to take advantage of all the resources right now. Go see your Wounded Care Coalition representative at your group. Go see the Honor Foundation representatives. If you're at Fort Bragg, Honor Foundation has a rep right there. If you're at 7th Group locally, go talk to Flo. Go talk to the individuals that work in that office at Care Coalition. Or reach out to Honor Foundation. I think it's honor.org. Or just Google THF. That transition is that's just one transition program. That's just one avenue to take, and there's multiple ones. There are multiple organizations that want to see you succeed because they understand the importance of having successful Green Berets. Because hey, guess what? It enhances recruitment. It enhances retention when you're able to see successful Green Berets, Rangers, SEALs make it on the outside. When you see that, hey, okay, there's ways for us to be successful. When I'm ready, I'm going to be successful too. And it sucks that we looked at it and we didn't take advantage of maybe all the resources. But at the end of the day, look where you're at now. You fucking made it.
That's because Green Berets are just stubborn as shit, bro. So it's like, like
we all are.
Our whole goal is to accomplish the mission. So regardless of how shitty the situation is, what we didn't do, what we do have, what we don't have, like if we set our mind to something, if we make that plan, very seldom have I seen one of us not accomplish that goal. They'll figure it out, which is awesome. But you did mention something else that I wanted to mention on was the identity portion.
Yeah.
I joke around with it a lot, and I have in the past. I don't mean to be rude to them about it, but one thing I noticed that people have to do when they're separating, I'm not saying lose your identity, but you're not Sergeant First Class so-and-so. Like you're not Master Sergeant so-and-so. You're not First Sergeant. You're not Sergeant Major so-and-so anymore. Like the second, like you're done, you need to let that go. Like that's not like fine. You spend 20 plus years, however long, and less than that, like building that identity. And a lot of people, like you said, don't want to let that identity go. It's not going to help you in the future, man, unless you just keep on going doing that. And I feel like people get stuck in that rut. I mean, I think you said all in the beginning about, oh, this resume doesn't make sense. This job title doesn't make sense. Like seldom, I'll say seldom because I do talk about my prior military history a lot. If somebody asks, that's never like the first thing that I come off with.
Yeah.
Like rarely is that the first thing because I don't want people to stereotype me instantaneously. Like, oh, it's just some grunt. It's just some gun bunny that spent years in the military. Like that's not what I want. Yeah. I want people to see Rich Greene as Rich Greene, not Rich Greene as prior military or disabled veteran or any of that. Identity's big. Make your own. Make a new one.
Exactly.
It's a big one.
Dude, it's such a powerful thing. I talk about it all the time. Like the first place that I went to when I had my complete fucking breakdown was Laurel Ridge. Like when I was finally vulnerable enough to admit what I was going through to my counselor, my P3 counselor, the first resource that was finally open to me that can make a real impact to save my life was Laurel Ridge Treatment Center in El Paso. And while I was there, I understood. I didn't know who the fuck I was. I knew that I was clinging to an identity like I do not want to walk away from this career. I don't want to lose this Green Beret long tab. And then it's understanding of like, okay, like this is done. Like this chapter, it will be coming to an end. I don't know who I am. Who the hell am I? And I finally wasn't scared. It was more of an embracing like, hey, this is scary. This sucks. And that's okay. But now at least I was starting from scratch. Who am I? What do I really love? What am I passionate about? What is my why? What is inherently truly unique to who I am? And in those moments, in those weeks, I was able to piece together a little bit more of who I was. And you don't have to go through that. I know not everybody has to go through that extreme. And I am glad not everybody has to go to a mental inpatient treatment center to understand that and peel that layer. That's beautiful. Take that time to figure out who you are because you're more than the 18 Echo. You're more than the 18 Charlie. Who are you once you take that uniform off? What do you enjoy? What are your hobbies? What are the things that you're passionate about when you wake up? That is a powerful catalyst. Just asking that question is a powerful catalyst for understanding what your next chapter is going to be. Because it doesn't have to be corporate America. It could be a trade. That's one thing that people don't talk about. We're not talking about the fact that an electrician, a master electrician, a master plumber, the people that build and create things in this world make a lot of fucking money. They make a lot of fucking money. And hey, money's always a big factor to everybody. So yeah, if you're passionate about working with your hands, or you have a background working in agriculture, maybe that's your true calling. But you're not going to figure it out if you're still clinging to that identity of being that former soft guy. There's more to you. There's more to all of us.
What it sounds like there, and I kind of blew it off at the beginning as until I started went through it. Talk therapy for me, going through the NICO program, you had no choice. Like you will sit down and you will talk to somebody. Like, you don't have a fucking choice, bro. Like that's like, we own you. Like you're going to do it. You're going to do talk therapy. You're going to do music therapy. You're going to do art therapy. Yeah. It's like, I'm too cool for this. I refuse. Okay, I have to do it. I'm definitely a huge advocate of a lot of people, our career field, are not, men in general, are very hesitant about being like, I don't need to see a therapist. I mean, that's fine, but maybe try with an open mind, just don't be closed-minded about it. Talk therapy for me was a huge groundbreaking moment for me, because I've never done it before. Because I think it's different. Like, we talk about the team room aspect. Like, we'll talk to those guys and we'll shoot the shit with those guys, but rarely will we let ourselves be vulnerable with those gentlemen, right? Because we couldn't be seen as vulnerable, even though we probably could have, but because nobody wants to break down those barriers, it's not going to happen. But sitting down and talking to somebody and just like opening myself up, it's like, as you said, like, I don't know who the fuck I am. Like, I've been Sergeant First Class with Greene for so long. I've been, this guy. Like, I don't know who I am. And they're just there to talk and guide you. Like, let's figure out who you are. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. Highly recommend people talking to somebody. So important.
There's so many different resources now, and there's a lot of modalities, and the most exciting one is psychedelics right now.
I've heard about it,
but talking to every provider, talking to every leading scientist that I've had the chance of talking to and meeting at conferences and different meetings, I'll say the same thing. It shouldn't be the first line of defense.
No.
It shouldn't be. And it makes perfect sense. It's not like when we go to combat, we don't engage right off the bat with fucking our most fucking just launch it. No, you got to engage the enemy with what you got. Small arms first. And for us, talking is the first line of defense. Absolutely. Just engaging. Vulnerability saved my life. And if you're listening and you're going through it right now, vulnerability is a powerful tool. I always say the same thing. I did a year of treatment. I did a year of fucking going through everything I could to get this chronic pain taken care of. Hey, dude, surgeries. The only thing I care about is surgeries. Just give me surgeries to deal with this pain. And then the pain never went away. And then I still am dealing with what's in here. That's the final thing I had to understand. Like, okay, I can't bullshit my way through this. I can't just lie to this person in front of me. I have to be vulnerable. You got to be vulnerable. You got to learn to self-advocate and understand self-compassion. And those three things are so fucking powerful, because they're the three things that we don't want to do. I don't want to talk to somebody about what I need. All of us go to the doctors. We sit down, and even if it's an 18 Delta, nope, I'm fine. This way, okay, you're not going to tell them what's actually hurting. That's self-advocacy. Like, self-compassion is the hardest fucking thing for us. All of us will cheer on a teammate and clap for everybody doing great. But when it comes to our own performance, when it comes to our own view of who we are, we're the hardest fucking critics. Offer no self-compassion. But it was when I had those three things, when I finally understood those three things, it's like, hey, we're all going to break down. We're all going to break down. It's okay. You can build back. You can build yourself back. Self-compassion, self-advocacy. Hey, I need you to fucking work on making me better, and I don't need more drugs. I need real care. And then that vulnerability to say, hey, man, I'm fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot walk down the stairs without falling down. I have all these fucking issues. And I'm only in my late 30s. This somehow doesn't seem normal. Can you help me? And you do those three things, holy shit, your life will get better. Yeah. And maybe you can stay on the team longer. Maybe you can stay on active duty longer. But you got to take care of yourself. And these are hard lessons learned from us living, but now that we're on the other side, we can share it openly with people in hopes that they don't have to go through the same things that we did.
Exactly. That's all we want. I mean, children. Sometimes talking to GBs reminds me of talking to my kids, because it's like talking to my child, any of my children. I'm like, don't do this. They're like, why? I'm like, well, because I've done this and it doesn't work. Now I'm going to try it anyway. That doesn't make zero sense. Like, I'm trying to help you. And I know everybody has to find their own way. And I understand that. But there's certain things where I'm like, like I'm telling you, I have lived this experience. Like, you don't want to do that. And that's what I try to do now when I'm talking to anybody that reaches out to me. It's like, okay, what have I lived through? Like, what were my suffering? Like, what were my hurdles, my roadblocks? What did I suffer with? Because what I don't want to do is I don't want a single other community member or brotherhood member like go through that and like struggle. Like, that's not what I want. Like, I've went through this. So when you talk to me, should I do this? Absolutely, you should do that. But like, I don't want to, because what do they give them now? Like a year or 2 years for transition period?
Yeah.
And like a typical, I know for me is like, no, I'll wait till my 6 months. I'm going to give my team 100% until I can't give it anymore. And then I'll just cram it all in 6 months. Yeah, that's a horrible fucking idea. Like, you've given yourself whatever long that service was to the country, to your team. Like, take a step back. And you said self-advocacy. Like, we are self-deprecating son of a bitches through and through. Take a step back, handle what you need to, and reach out for people to help you through this who have been through this process with you. Don't do it by yourself. There's no reason to do anything in today. Rarely is somebody doing something for the first time.
Yeah. Dude,
somebody's went through it.
I drive knowledge. Drive knowledge. No, if you're creating something for the first time, you're fucking wrong. Dig into the iDrive. Somebody else has already made that product. You just have to refine it and make it yours. Like that, and that's literally life. The advent of the iDrive. And if anybody needs to understand that, is being able to reach into an external hard drive or a connected hard drive that has access to all the knowledge of your entire institution, and being able to tap into the successes of everybody else so that you can achieve more. Because when you succeed, I succeed. And together we can make a powerful fucking movement for others to look and say, like, holy shit, like they made it, I can make it too. Like, it's a no-brainer. It's the reality that we're living in is not one of being closed off. We're connected. We're all connected by our phones, computer, online. So if I can see you succeed, I know that I have a shot. And that's the thing that we have to realize. That's what we have to continuously build. And social media makes it so much easier. Stop using it just for stupid memes and look at what people are doing. Be able to see hey, if he can do it, if Rich Greene can be successful in cybersecurity, then that's the person I need to look at and be able to look at his success and model it. And I think it's so wonderful being able to see your journey and seeing you proudly share all the knowledge that you've gained, but the things you're doing to make it more enjoyable. That's the difference. Like, that's it. Like, dude, I cannot sit through another online training video and just be like, wow, this is enjoyable. Fuck that. But the way that you frame it, the way that you frame cybersecurity and these challenges, that's fun. Like, that to me is like, okay, that's a recruitment tool. That's a fucking recruitment tool. And before we run out of time, how did you develop this idea, this concept of being able to make it more of a game?
I think for me, it was just as you said. We've spent so much time. Well, I got to do my yearly annual awareness. I got to do my yearly annual cybersecurity. Got to sign my statement of understanding. I got to have strong passwords. And it's just like, this, bro, is not fun. When you look at it, passive learning is a learning tool. Like, you can read a book, you can watch a video, you can listen to something. And that is definitely an approved way of learning. It is not for everybody. And I would like to almost argue that I think that most people growing up now, it is detrimental to their learning abilities. So we got to go to active learning, where it's hands-on keyboards, it's interactive, it's taking something and telling a story behind it. That's one of the biggest things about becoming a SANS instructor is anybody can just read slides and provide content.
Yes.
Which is great for some people, but again, it's not great for most people. So how do you take what's on that slide and not read the slide to say, oh, in my experience, I was doing this thing, and this is how I made that connection. Because we need conceptualization. We just don't need this passive learning. It's not going to help anybody. So how do we take it and make it fun and exciting? And that's what I want to do with the YouTube channel I started, which I probably need to make content for it, but I never do because I'm so busy. But it's because if you were to go on to Google right now and type cybersecurity training, you're going to see tons of YouTube videos that are hours long, and they're people just post editing it and they're doing all this random stuff and there's sponsors. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, how could I take all these concepts and break it down like 10, 15-minute bite-sized chunks so people can be like, oh, I'm curious about the difference between IT and cybersecurity. Oh, I can watch a 10-minute video on it and it's exciting and it's not Rich just reading slides. It's being fun and interactive. And that's all I want to do. You have to, we need more active learning in life. In whatever case, gamification, storytelling, in person, we got to get away from passive learning. That's just my thoughts.
Bro, please continue your YouTube channel. I know time is like we said it before, man, the time is the most valuable resource and you only have so much bandwidth. Like I'm sick and tired of seeing online influencers say like, I can hack your, no, you're not going to hack shit for productivity. You only have so much. It's scientifically been proven, people. Like you cannot cram anymore. Your concentration is not infinite. It's something that comes, you have X amount of bandwidth for the day, and then that's it. Like when you try to cram more, you're not going to be successful. It's finding ways that you can like be able to be productive in all your endeavors and be able to chop up your time that you have. But man, I think you're onto something with the way that you're creating this content, the way you're creating the gamification, especially for a complex subject like cybersecurity. When you can make it seem like a Final Fantasy adventure or a Dungeons and Dragon dungeon crawler, like that's fucking cool. So
that's what we're gonna do, man.
Yeah,
that's our goal. It's our whole thing right now. Jason, Josh, and I, because he reached out, he was like, "Can we do this?" It's like, I mean, yeah, we can do whatever we want to put our minds to. So just going through that process, and then I think once we nail it down, it's going to be awesome as shit. And then we're going to record it, and then it does twofold. One, it enhances people's knowledge of cybersecurity, and two, it's not a recruitment tool again, like for us for joining the military, but it's like bringing people, because we need people in cybersecurity, but they don't know how to get into, or they're scared to get into it, but they watch us fuck off for an hour playing a tabletop version of cybersecurity D&D, and now they want to join it. And I'm like, yeah, success. That's success. That's awesome. Come join.
Hell yeah, man. And dude, I want to thank you for your time and being here, man. But before I let you go, can you give me your top 5 as to why somebody should pursue cybersecurity today?
Man, top 5. Number 1, I won't say job security, but the potential for not job security, but job appetite. There's so many fields you can get into. You can be in, GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. You can get into penetration testing. You can get into cyber defense. You can get into digital forensics, incident response. There's so many fields you can get into. That'd be number 1. There's if you find something you enjoy doing, you can probably find it in cybersecurity. Number 2, puzzles. If you enjoy solving puzzles, cybersecurity, again, is a phenomenal field you get into because it's ever changing, and you have to be creative. Like you can't use the same thing you did yesterday in the problem today and then the problem tomorrow. So you're constantly having to adjust what you do. So you can't be complacent, which we all know complacency kills. So you don't go in that route.
Fact.
Networking, there's people there. There's tons of people. It's not a small field. It's small, but it's not small. So like you can reach out to tons of people. If you came from a place wanting that connectivity, that connection, you can find it again in cybersecurity. I already kind of touched on opportunity, but again, it's everywhere, even where you don't think it's at. I can't think of a single organization that exists on the world today, unless they just walk or work out of their back of their truck or their vehicle. Like everybody needs it in some fashion or form today. Like, it doesn't have to be. I mean, literally, I can't even fathom a company not without it. You can go anywhere you want with it. And honestly, what I think should be the last is money. The potential for money is good, and as you said, it's a motivator for a lot of people. The money's out there. And they pay decently well, so why not? And it's just fun. It's be passionate about it. If you don't go for money, you'll go for one of the other 4. You'll have a fucking phenomenal time in cybersecurity.
Hell yeah, dude. Rich, Greene, thank you so much for being here today, brother. Can we plug your LinkedIn for people to contact you in case you have more questions about cybersecurity or life in general?
Yeah, absolutely. If you really just look for Rich Greene, you'll find me. And if you want to use the actual URL, it's just my last name and then a hyphen and then my first name. And you will, if you see a bright colored shirt, which it changes monthly, you will know you found the right person.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on today, man. I really appreciate you. And to all y'all listening, please continue to like, share, and subscribe. And don't be afraid to reach out to anybody on LinkedIn, especially myself or Rich, because, hey, dude, we're human beings. And at the end of the day, we all get into our pants the same way by jumping off our bed and putting both pant legs on at the same time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Denny, so much for having me.
We'll see you, brother. Take
All
care.
right, man, later.